Though we have all traveled many uncertain roads, we have always recognized something wasn't right. We searched high and low, yet our paths had never intersected. Our desire to seek truth, then to speak true, has brought us all together. That thing of ours is rooted in truth, because truth is the only unshakable foundation. In the greatest book, it states in John 8:32, "For ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free."
Truth is a powerful force. It is the foundation on which all great achievements are built, and the bedrock of trust and respect in any relationship. When we are rooted in truth, we can be confident that our decisions and actions are grounded in reality rather than in speculation or wishful thinking.
The pursuit of truth is not always easy. It requires courage, perseverance, and a willingness to face uncomfortable facts. But in the end, the truth is always worth it. It allows us to make better decisions, to build stronger relationships, and to create a more just and equitable world.
From politics and world events to entertainment and pop culture, we've got you covered. We'll explore our history and the stories that matter to uncover the truth that lies at the heart of each one. With our fingers on the pulse of the news cycle, we'll provide the insights and analysis you need to stay informed and engaged. As we stay rooted in truth and let the truth guide us in all that we do, let us be willing to listen, to learn, and seek out the facts, even when they challenge our own assumption or belief.
Let us never forget that the pursuit of truth is not just an individual endeavor, but a collective one. Only by working together
With honesty and integrity,
can we build a better future for ourselves
And for generations to come.
This is That Thing of Ours. How's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining us today on this Tuesday, 5th of August, 2025. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, Locals, and Pill.net.
and if you haven't already, please take a minute and give us that virtual hug. If you're over on Rumble or YouTube, hit that thumbs up. If you're over on pill.net, take that red pill. And if you're over on Facebook, you got like 7 choices over there. Go ahead and hit the heart.
If you don't mind, it's truly appreciated. And we truly appreciate each and every one of you for joining us today.
Yes. How's everyone's Taco Tuesday
I hope
going?
everybody's Taco Tuesday is going amazing. Gonna go ahead and say hi to the fam out
Yep,
here.
We got Mike in the house.
What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
We got C Strike in the house.
Hey, C Strike, thanks for joining in.
We got Miss Dawn in the
Hey,
house.
there's Dawn.
Which means Carol's probably
Obviously, Carol.
somewhere.
What's going on with this thing here?
I don't know. Yours being weird.
I think we're all right now. All right. Yeah, we're good.
I know you're just not used to it being so short.
I know, because it used to just fall on its own. Now it's whatever.
I don't know. But you know what? We do have the best family on the internet.
We do. Y'all are amazing, and we do truly appreciate all of you. And thank you for putting up with our shenanigans.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, you know what? You were tired.
Crashed and burned her. Well, I mean, just get your rest, man.
Get your rest. We
That's
care
all right.
about
Yeah,
that.
the rest is most important.
Yes. You
Yeah.
ready?
Uh-huh.
All right. Would you read that, please?
Certainly. All right, here we go. All right. A decent number of Democrats are interested in the Russiagate story.
Let's
Well,
listen.
we knew this was coming.
Right? Let's listen.
All right.
This was what I found equally as fascinating. Poll shows 56% of Democrats are following the investigation, 32% believe serious crimes were committed, and 59% agree the perpetrators must be held accountable. Everybody's interested in this story.
Everybody is. And I think that really gives Democrat leadership some sleepless nights, because it's their own people who are paying attention to this story, who have their ears pricked up, who also were lied to for years.
What's up,
They
Aaron?
now see Donald Trump is back in office. They were told relentlessly that Donald Trump was an agent of Vladimir Putin, and that delegitimized his presidency. It sabotaged his first term. And now the public is going, hang on, he's doing a good job. So I think that's created disillusionment in those lying propaganda media outlets. and disillusionment in the Democratic Party.
All right.
Thoughts?
Well, this is kind of something that we've been saying for a while now, is that President Trump knows how to play the media better than the media knows how to do media. And so he uses them against themselves. And this was one of the things that I said, right off the bat. I know that was pretty much right when we came back on. But this is President Trump playing the media and getting them to get the voter base on the left to start looking at it. And I will say that I have observed this. Some of the people that like to talk trash, and I appreciate it. They contact me and, what do you think about Trump? Well, I think he's doing the best he can with what he's got right now. And, you try to tell some of these people, I think he's playing the press. So that way, so that way people start actually doing the research that they weren't doing the previous 4 years when Biden was in office. Now we're actually seeing the fruits of that labor. And it should be as no surprise to anybody whatsoever that this would have been a play that President Trump did to get the left to actually bother trying to do like their job. It's just kind of what he does. So not surprised by this at all.
Yeah.
All right.
Got Liberty in the house.
Hey, Liberty, thanks for joining. Howdy.
Can you pull that first article up?
I can certainly do that. All right, here we go. Oh, I'm seeing dot problems here. Are we having interwebs issues again today?
No.
I hope not. All right. So let's see. The Last Refuge is the site that we're bringing this from. Jonathan Turley says there's still hope for indictments. And then we're just going to go ahead and play this video.
All right, welcome back. A Fox News alert. Attorney General Pam Bondi signed an order just about 45 minutes ago. It was released that directs a U.S. federal prosecutor to take evidence to a grand jury that's related to the alleged conspiracy to tie then 2016 candidate Donald Trump to Russia. All right, let's bring in Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley to react. Professor, it's great to see you, and I have many questions for you, all of them legal in nature, but I feel compelled, Professor, to start with one that maybe isn't so legal, and that is this. I know that I personally, and many people watching, have a bit of cynicism and fatigue when it comes to potential accountability for elected officials or government officials. So I want you to take today's news and tell me, do you think we should watching feel more hope today after this impanelment of a grand jury for accountability, or should we still remain somewhat cynical, somewhat fatigued?
Well, Will, it's a very good
how we should
question.
feel.
I don't think this is an excuse for cynicism, but I do believe it's a reason for continued skepticism. But there is still hope here. This is the first necessary step to finding out about the real Russian conspiracy. There never was a Russian collusion conspiracy. That was hatched by the Clinton campaign. They secretly funded the Steele dossier. They denied that to the media, and they laid out this very successful political hit job using the media, using the government. It's amazing how much the public still doesn't know. But in the last few weeks, this administration has given us information that we haven't seen before. I've been following this, writing about it for years. Some of this is new stuff, and it's startling. Okay,
so it's a hopeful first step in what would be
Yes.
a long road to accountability. Let's ask some of the legal questions now. As I understand it, Professor, the grand jury could come back if they find sufficient evidence and probable cause with an indictment against as of yet unnamed individuals. Let's start with the charges. And you've been following this story for, well, about a decade. So what does the evidence point to? Like, what could be the charges coming out of a grand jury?
Well, Will, I think today about half the lawyers in the city went on retainer. About 40 minutes ago, you just lost about 50% of the bar in terms of client base. The reason is that there are a lot of people, a lot of powerful people in this town that have already been mentioned in some of these releases. The most at risk, the most exposed include people like John Brennan, who I've been writing a lot about. It's very hard to square his testimony before Congress with what was just released. And he and Clapper, who is also at risk here, just published an op-ed in the New York Times. If they didn't have counsel before, they should get it now, because I was astonished by that column. I was astonished the New York Times published it because it seems to me strikingly untrue. But they say that they didn't rely on the Steele dossier, which has been largely debunked, the one funded by the Clinton campaign. These documents indicate that Brennan may have personally intervened to guarantee that the dossier was part of this infamous assessment that occurred at the very end of the Obama administration. Now, Obama himself is likely in the clear because he has immunity due to the recent Supreme Court decision. He can thank Donald Trump for that. But the rest of them are exposed, and there's a very long list.
Including Hillary Clinton?
It can be Clinton. Now, the key to remember here is that even if the statute of limitations has run, these people are likely to be questioned again. So they can be subject to the trifecta of the most common charges, the ones the prosecutors love the most, which are things like obstruction, false statements to federal investigators, and perjury. The Obama administration used those quite widely, so did the special counsel. Those are likely to appear again now. So even if the statute of limitations has run, it won't run on new statements. It'll just start again. And if there is a conspiracy, as been suggested by the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, that conspiracy may have elongated that statute of limitations.
Okay, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, perjury. These are all potential charges for potentially defendants who could include Brennan, Clapper, Clinton, among others, which will all be revealed in due time should it come out of a grand jury. Professor Turley, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Will.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube.
Right,
it's the best way to...
I'm going to go ahead and share this one instead. Let me close this up here real quick. Okay, so this is a quick follow-up from Blaze Media. The case against Clinton, Brennan, and Comey is stronger than ever. And so, again, talking about the same names. These are the three names that keep coming up. And they're hammering these three names for a reason. They're not specifically naming Obama yet, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to be in the crosshairs as this thing continues to unfold. Now, none of this really comes as a surprise to us, but the thing is this information is getting put out, and it's getting put out more and more and more. It's kind of fallen a little bit on deaf ears with the people on the far left that are still holding on to everything the legacy media says. You know what? That's fine for the time being. That's all going to play out the way it's supposed to. Good article, and I do like Blaze Media because they really do do their research, and they try to get it the proper information out and without as much fear as a lot of other organizations would. Certainly providing an alternative perspective to the mainstream narrative. But like it says right here, by now, most politically literate Americans understand that the Steele dossier, may as well just read what they're saying here. The infamous, much ballyhooed collection of 26 opposition research memos was either reckless fantasy or deliberate defamation. But many still don't grasp is how that discredited document could become central to criminal charges against Hillary Clinton, James Comey, and John Brennan. Okay, so the real key here is that most people that are paying attention to politics already know that the dossier is crap. It was absolute falsehood, and we're trying to find out, was it done intentionally, or was it just kind of a wishful thinking? And trying to determine someone's intent is much more difficult than saying someone did these dumb things, and that's what they're going to be going through here. And so they do talk about it was known to be false. Let's see, if if the dossier was a cartoonish act of election interference, then its creators and knowing advocates should face prosecution, which I think is where most of us are really at in all of this. And they go through and they talk about John Brennan's role. He played both sides. He privately briefed White House officials about the hoax, but reportedly gave false information to legislators like Senator Harry Reid, the former Senate Majority Leader, who used it to smear Trump publicly. So this sounds like it's a little bit of distancing of Harry Reid from this. He was very long in the tooth by this time. By the time this had come out, so I think he's going to get a bye. Let's see. I was on another page. Mike says, we have known all this for years, but now it's in the public media. We are there. And I think that's the point of what I'm really getting at here is we all know this. It's getting into the public eye right now. And that's the part that really matters. And they do go into some of the players and what their personal stake was, especially the Russians who were involved. It all plays together, and it's going to be a nice, neat little story once it's all said and done about how the whole Russia collusion hoax went about. I have a feeling, and it looks like they're going to try to consolidate the perpetrators of this, and they're going to allow other people buys that may have possibly known a little bit more. Good luck trying to prove that, but that's also probably how some of this game is played. So we need to be accepting of the scapegoats that we get, is I kind of think where we're going with this. But the good thing is a lot of these people that were main players, people that really were doing something for their own self-interest and weren't that good at covering their tracks, they're going to be the fall guys for it. And I think that that's pretty much what we're going to see with this.
And Carol,
Oops, there we go.
Carolyn Silver came in while you were
Hey, Carol and Silver.
going over that.
Thank you for joining
Can
us.
you pull up that last one,
Yes, I
please?
most certainly can. And that would be Bondi orders evidence sent to the grand jury for Russia collusion hoax. And then we're just going to go ahead and watch this here real quick.
Unmute it.
I know that you know what's going on. I know you've read what has now been declassified, and you heard my big long monologue at the top. This has to make your blood boil. As someone who worked in that agency and served our country through that agency, this has got to just absolutely infuriate you.
Well, it was highly disappointing, and it was disturbing to see how certain high-ranking members of the FBI and other government agencies allowed their own personal political preferences and ideological beliefs to, I guess you could say, poison the processes and practices that were in place. And looking over the information that was made public, I just think there are many questions that still have to be asked about FBI practice protocol and how those documents were found. And one last question I would ask very clearly: how many unique documents were found in those supposed burn bags that are not already logged into FBI and Department of Justice systems of record?
Yeah. I mean, still more questions than answers, it seems like. Maybe we're getting more, though. So you've got this shadowy figure over at the George Soros Open Foundation, Leonard Bernard, and then you have this Clinton advisor, Julianne Smith, and they are communicating. So this is now implicating a lot of other people. It's not just Hillary Clinton. It's not just Christopher Steele and everybody over at Fusion GPS. It's not just James Comey and James Clapper and John Brennan and Loretta Lynch. And I mean, honestly, I could rattle off 30 different names. But now we're starting to bring in even people like George Soros. The George Soros factor is interesting, though, because he almost seems to have his tentacles in everything that seeks to divide and destroy this country, doesn't he?
Well, he is a recognized globalist. He has certain ideological beliefs, and he has a lot of money and resource, and that buys you access. And unless we can shore up our cultural norms and make sure that our government agencies are operating in accordance with their assigned missions, eventually he's going to get a little more influence than he deserves or should have, no doubt.
Yeah. As I look at all this, it is very clear, as you were saying at the top, that there were people within the FBI who were willing to lay down their duty to their country and uphold their allegiance to a political party instead. Is the FBI in the habit of, or have they ever in the past, I wouldn't necessarily think they're in the habit of it, but have they ever in the past been in the habit of furthering intelligence that they knew was created by a political campaign? Because those involved in this at the FBI and the CIA, they knew that this originated with Hillary Clinton.
Right. No, that's a recent phenomenon. Again, formed by people who were unable to navigate the political and social environments. The FBI always dealt with objectivity and facts and investigative rigor. And that seems to have dropped off in the last several years in particular, where I think that people were more willing to lean in a certain direction, have an expected outcome, and then investigate to support their expected outcome. And I think that's a fatal error for an organization like the FBI.
Chris, are there too many FBI agents?
Some would think so, but I'll tell you this much. In the current threat environment, there aren't enough FBI agents. There are approximately 12 to 13,000, I think, on board right now. And when people look at that, they don't understand that. Like, New York Police Department has, I think, almost 40,000 officers for the 5 boroughs of New York. And the FBI has 13,000 agents to cover the entire world. So I think it depends on how you define the mission scope of the FBI and what level of engagement you want the FBI to have. But I think right now they are undermanned and under-resourced when it comes to addressing certain threats that face the nation.
All right, I think we need to share that advertisement. All right, so
Let's see Mike's comment.
what did he say? Chop, chop, chop timber. Yeah. Pretty much. It's coming out, and more of these names are coming up, but he's also bringing up the fact that there's going to be a lot of other names that we haven't heard about, and names that, we'll probably forget about in the future. Remember the trials that they had after World War II, they were pretty much trying everybody, and these were going to be the leaders of this kind of what I believe to be an attempted coup, and successful for at least 4 years as far as they were concerned. And then they thought that they were going to be able to keep Trump out, and we'll see how all that plays out in the end. But nobody's going to get off scot-free off of all of this. I think that names will be brought up, damage will be done to people's reputation, even if they aren't drug into some kind of legal actions. But I know that the people who have been getting named repeatedly are probably going to have to pay the piper, and we'll see how that turns out as time moves on. It is happening. It is happening. And now that it's going to grand juries and everything, it's really starting to look like the dominoes are going to start falling. Once the grand jury's done, then I would say that a lot of stuff could start changing at that point. I'm still trying to figure out why they're playing games with Trump's ability to put his appointments in there.
I know.
I don't know.
Doesn't
I guess
make any sense.
I think the only thing we're waiting on is for a little bit of a house cleaning, so that way they don't screw up the things that need to be done.
Yeah.
I guess these are all people that can wait. These appointments can wait. I'm assuming is what we're going with.
Mhm.
I know that wasn't spoken of in any of this previous the videos that we showed here.
No, that
but
was just Russiagate.
but I have a feeling that all of this is tied together, and it's going to be careful, step by step by step, before anything's allowed to actually happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
How about some Justin?
Oh, we could go for some Justin here.
Let's listen.
All right, let us listen.
God will design your rejection for your protection and preservation of purpose. Although painful, it was necessary. Let's talk about a father's instruction, rejection, protection, and preservation of purpose. Let's talk about the life of Joseph, not the prison to the palace, before that took place. Let's begin with when Joseph's father sent him to Shechem to check on his brothers, a father's instruction. Once his brothers seen him, they immediately started plotting to end his life. Rejection. At that very moment, they seen the Ishmaelite traders coming, and they decided to sell Joseph into slavery. Protection. Although this experience had to be painful, it was necessary. It was a protection. It was designed to preserve his purpose. His purpose was to deliver the people of Egypt, including his own family, from a famine that is to come several years later. His purpose is to be a leader and offer wisdom to leadership of Egypt. This was God's perfect timing. If he would have been 10 minutes early or 10 minutes later, his life would have been ended. This was God's protection and God's preservation of his purpose. Think about this. If his father had never sent him to the field, if his brothers never would have rejected him, if the Ishmaelites never would have purchased him, he never would have went to the palace, and he never would have discovered his purpose. Joseph was rejected in Canaan, but eventually celebrated in Egypt. Consider the possibilities. What if your rejection is designed by God? What if your rejection is a redirection to your purpose? What if your rejection is God's protection? You know, sometimes we complain about the cart, but it may be taking us to the palace.
Thoughts? All right. So this is one of those things in life where we kind of should rely on the wisdom in the Bible. And I think that this is a perfect story, the story of Joseph and being sold into captivity. And, you know, it wasn't easy. You know, he was a slave. He was extremely humble. He still followed the laws that he was taught when he was young. I'm pretty sure he didn't have Torah scrolls with him when he was there. So it was just based off of everything that he could remember and following through with those lessons that he had learned when he was younger and applied those throughout his life, did the best he could, got trapped by his master's wife to try to falsely accuse him, gets thrown in prison as if it wasn't bad enough, and then he gets thrown in prison. And then in the end, it all ended up working for the better of not only Joseph, but the entire family was saved. And so we don't know why we go through the pain and suffering that we go through in life, especially when we may have had, a much better time before. But that's because there's things about ourselves that we need to burn off. There's that perfect divine timing that is set for each and every one of us. And so despite everything that's going on, Joseph relies as that example or stays as that example where we need to say, despite my current situation, I need to do everything as if it were for the Lord. And I know I have problems with this, and I've failed at this miserably throughout time and time again. But it's things that I'm working on. And I know that as time goes on, God will have a timing for Kay and I, just as much as I know that he has a perfect timing for each and every one of you. We're not all going through all of this pain for absolutely no reason. It is for a reason that we suffer. But that suffering, it provides us so many things that draw us closer to God if we allow that to happen. And then once it's time for the harvest, we will be the workers that will be out there. And we should be the workers that are out there trying to get the help for the harvest that has come.
We got Steph in the
Hey,
house.
Steph, thanks for joining.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. Let's see. What do we got here? RFK Jr. explains why he banned the mercury-based, was that Thiomersal from vaccines?
Yep.
Okay.
Ready?
Thiomersal. I've never heard that word before. Hold on, before we do anything.
Okay.
Thiomersal definition. There we go. All right. Let's see. Local antiseptic for abrasions and minor cuts. All right. There we go.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS secretary. I'm happy to report that last week we closed the final chapter in the long history of thimerosal in the United States. Thimerosal, of course, is a mercury-based vaccine preservative. Its main component, ethyl mercury, is a known and very potent neurotoxin. Until we withdrew the recommendation last week, flu shots containing thimerosal, astonishingly, were still being administered to millions of Americans, including pregnant women and children. Now, I've taken a lot of flack from the vaccine industry and from its allies in the press about my decision to ban it. So I want to talk a little bit about my reasons. In early 2001, the director of the FDA Office of Vaccine Research and Review, late William Egan, admitted under oath before Congress that thimerisol's safety had never been studied in human beings. Further, CDC has no existing guidelines for safe exposures to ethyl mercury. It is therefore inexcusable that these agencies allowed neurotoxic mercury to be injected into Americans for so long. A quick search of the National Library of Medicine's PubMed and PubChem websites, and that's thousands of studies on search terms such as mercury neurotoxicity, mercury in development, and mercury in the brain. Hundreds of them identify thimerosal as a potent neurotoxin, a carcinogen, a mutagen, and an endocrine disruptor. Let's put all that peer-reviewed science aside and just look at what the government itself and the vaccine industry say about thimerosal. Thimerisol's own label advises against its use during pregnancy, pointing out that thimerosal has never been shown to be safe and that it causes mutations in mammals. Thimerisol's material safety data sheet acknowledges that thimerosal is toxic, that it has nervous system and reproductive effects, that it's mutagenic in mammalian cells, that exposure to mercury and thimerosal in utero and in children could cause mild to severe mental retardation and mild to severe motor coordination impairment. The MSDS.
Oh. Oh, they just cut it off right there. Okay, well, material safety data sheet, that would have been good. Okay, so mutagenic, having the ability to cause mutations, which are changes in the genetic material, the DNA of an organism. And so this is one of the things that so many anti-vaxxers have been saying for so long is that this stuff is bad for us and that it's not healthy. And people have been screaming it from the mountaintops for as long as I can remember, long before I ever considered what they were trying to tell me. But now, hey, more and more people are finding out. Now we have a director at the FDA that is Health and Human Services that is telling us the truth and trying to get this out of the system where it's something that is given to people on a regular basis. If nothing else, we need to make sure that it's not going to pregnant women. Those are going to be the people that are going to be most susceptible to these mutagenic changes, would be my guess, would be the child that's in utero. These are all the things that people have been asking for. Now it's happening. So let's rejoice in the victories that we're seeing as these changes are actually starting to take effect. These are wins. And I know it might not seem like it because there's not, big celebrations out in the street. This is going to be one of those celebrations where it's like, wow, RFK Jr. really was making it happen long before the real changes were able to go about, I guess would be the right way to say that. Anyways, so thank God this is happening. I know that there's a lot more changes that we'd like to see, but think about all of the healthy changes that have been made coming out of his office since he was put into place. I would say that this is probably the best thing for everybody is the fact that he's in that place. So despite the fact that there's all of these other appointees that President Trump is being prevented from being able to get into place, this one was one of our greatest victories, and it's helping so many of us out. I mean, they're already changing the food, the dyes, all of these things are starting to change. The vaccines are changing. Let's see how this plays out. But you know what? Again, this is where our victories are at, and these are the things we need to be thanking him for because it couldn't be happening without him.
Amen. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Would you read this, please?
All right. RFK Jr. says taxpayers shouldn't pay for kids to get diabetes.
Let's listen.
Well, I appreciate that sentiment.
Right?
Now at this MAHA event in Washington about eliminating sugary foods and drinks in many states from the SNAP program, the food stamp program. Let's listen.
In a chronic disease crisis. Her changes to the SNAP program are emblematic of that commitment. SNAP, we're spending $405 million a day on SNAP. And about 10% is going to sugary drinks. And between, and if you add candies to that, it's about 13 to 17%. And we all believe in free choice. We live in a democracy. People can make their own choice about what they're going to buy and what they're not going to buy. If you want to buy a sugary soda, you ought to be able to do that. But the U.S. taxpayer should not pay for it. And the U.S. taxpayer should not be paying to feed kids foods, the poorest kids in our country, with foods that are going to give them diabetes. And then my agency ends up through Medicaid and Medicare paying for those injuries. So we're going to put an end to that. And we're doing it step by step, state by state. I'm also working with Secretary Rollins on the dietary guidelines, which should come out next month. The dietary, they're coming out, I think it's the end of September, 3 months ahead of schedule. And the dietary guidelines that we inherited from the Biden administration were 453 pages long. They were driven by the same commercial impulses that put Fruit Loops at the top of the food pyramid. And they were incomprehensible. And we are going to release dietary guidelines that are 4, 5, or 6 pages long, that are understandable, that are simple, and will allow people to make good choices about their food. They will drive changes in the school lunch program and prison lunches and military food, and they will begin to change America almost immediately. We're also working on the release of the MAHA report. We're working, Brooke especially has been adamant about the issue that we need to keep farmers as partners in the MAHA movement if we're going to have nutrient-dense food. And that is what we care about. And we've had over 130 meetings with farmers to understand their concerns, to learn from them, and to understand how we can help them transition towards more and more nutrient-dense food. I also want to thank President Trump for the big, beautiful bill. If we're going to save the American farmers, we need to save rural America. Right now, Medicaid gives about 7% of its funds to rural hospitals, 7%. It's about $20 million a year, $20 billion a year. We are now going to add through the rural transformation bill, we're going to add another 50 billion over 5 years. So 10 billion a year that's going to be distributed to the states, to rural areas. And that is going to add about a third of the money that they now receive from Medicaid. And it will transform them. And it will allow these institutions, which are so critical to the economies, to the culture, to the health of rural life, it will allow them to flourish. And the president understands the American farmer. He did more during his first term to save American farmers than any other president. And we are going to continue that tradition. So thank you very much for your leadership, Secretary Rollins.
All right.
Thoughts?
All right. So RFK talking about the SNAP program and the processed sugars. Here's the thing is it is wrong for the American people to purchase for people things that we know will cause harm, especially as time goes on. And that will only serve to feed the money interests that probably, like he said, had something to do about getting Fruit Loops at the top of the food pyramid, as if Fruit Loops are supposed to be the end all be all of what people are eating. Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some Fruit Loops. I think they're tasty, but there are things that need to change. And having the sodas, it may give you that quick burst of energy, but it's not going to give you the long-term energy you need. And having healthy choices for the people who are on food stamps. I mean, they might eat better than us, but at the same time, they need to be eating healthy so that way they can get out of the situation that they're in. These programs aren't designed to have people survive off of them. Yet the Democrats have gone out of their way to make sure that these programs are designed for people to get into these government programs, all government programs, and never get out. It has become a trap. It prevents people from getting out. But these traps, they've made these traps enticing, and it's you can go ahead and do whatever you want. That's not what these programs are for. These programs are supposed to be a hand up, not a hand out. And if people are out buying sugary snacks, a whole bunch of comfort foods that make you feel better about yourself temporarily, but in the end are going to cause you a whole bunch of misery, that's not what we, the people, are responsible for, because then we, the people, are responsible for your health issues afterwards because of the choices that we honestly quite encouraged based off of what the grocery stores are putting out there for what's cheap and what's not. I know that the vegetables should be a lot cheaper than what they are. I have no idea who could possibly be profiting off of all of that. But regardless, these are the things that need to happen. I know it's not going to make people happy, but you want a soda, then do what you need to do to get the sodas instead of this. It's don't want to hurt you, want to help. It may not seem like it, but sometimes that's what help sounds like and looks like. Yeah, the corporation does hate we the people. There's no doubt about that. I used to love Fruit Loops too. I haven't had them in years. Although I will say we did find a video about how to make homemade Fruit Loops.
Yeah, it doesn't look that hard at all.
No, it doesn't look that hard.
Not
And using
hard at all.
natural fruit juices is actually pretty neat.
Yeah, it was neat.
Mhm.
And you know what? Here's the thing. When I was in college, one of my many jobs that I worked to put myself through college was at a grocery store. And even though I was the manager of the video department, back when it was
When they had videos
when
at the
they had
grocery store.
videos at the
video
grocery
department
store.
at the grocery store.
But on the first, when everyone got their food stamps, it was always all hands on deck, and I would have to go run a register because we didn't have self checkout and all that other things, And people would come in there and they'd have, $1,200 worth of food stamps and 4 carts of food, and and they'd have everything from steaks to hot dogs, and they would just hand you. Back then it was the little booklets, and you had to pull them out, and they had $20 denomination, 10, 5s, and 1s.
And it was considered demeaning, and that's why we have the cards now. You know what? I can understand that, because it highlights and it only serves to provide discouragement. There is a nature versus nurture, and sometimes you can put a little bit too much nature on some people. So I don't have a problem with the cards now. I don't think that the stamp books were probably the best. But I also understand that they didn't want to hand them, cash, because cash could be spent however it was. But times have changed now that cards are a more common thing. I think that makes sense to put them on cards.
Yeah.
And not trying to embarrass people.
No.
But we also want people to be making right decisions. And if that's the season that they're in, and they have to learn, oh, okay, so this junk isn't helping me, learn to live without it for a period of time. I think that the desire and the hope is that people will continue to make the healthy choices afterwards. Now, the fact that they buy themselves steaks, and then the kids get hot dogs and mac and cheese is probably another issue altogether. But that's just because that's because the school system hasn't taught people how to be self-sufficient and take care of their bodies properly, and how to I don't know, have a better moral compass. Hey, you better take care of your kids. You never know. You might get lucky and have one of them go into, be a sports star, and then they could take care of you. You don't want them looking back and say, you only gave me hot dogs, kiss my ass. You stay where you're at.
Right.
Mike says, I hated self-checkout at first, but now it takes too long if they're not open. See, I still try to use the cashier checkout as much as possible.
Yeah.
I tried sending a $10.99 to the grocery store, but
They don't care.
They don't care. Yeah.
You want to read that?
Steph says, I'm not sorry if they want junk food. Let them buy junk food. We will help provide good food for them. No problem. Junk food is a privilege and a desire, not a need. It is
Amen.
a desire. It is not a need. And that's something that, need to understand.
Yeah. Exactly. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
How about some Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly's good. Kelly's always good.
Yeah. Let's listen.
Today, let's look at the question, is it a sin to get remarried after divorce?
Seriously, we're going to go straight to Leviticus today?
I mean, we get it.
We know Matthew 19 says that anybody who gets divorced and gets remarried commits adultery.
Yeah. But did you forget?
Jesus was responding to the Pharisees trying to trap him.
That whole conversation was less God's final marriage policy.
And it was more, y'all are trying to use divorce to trade in your wives like old iPhones.
Exactly. Jesus wasn't outlawing remarriage. He was calling out dudes ghosting their wives so they could shack up with Becky in the synagogue choir.
Text ain't about punishment.
It's about covenant. And let's not forget, Israel had a divorce culture.
And what they needed was a repentance culture. Look, here's the deal.
Divorce, not God's design. Remarriage,
not automatically sin. You know what is sin? Weaponizing scripture to chain somebody to their past.
Wait. What? You're telling me grace applies to divorced people too?
Yup. Wild concept, huh? Almost like the cross didn't come with an exception list.
Listen, God hates divorce. Yes.
But you know what he loves?
Redeeming messy people.
So if you're divorced, remarried, or wondering if you're living in sin,
why don't you ask yourself this?
Am I honoring God now?
Is this marriage built on Christ, truth, and faithfulness?
If the answer is yes,
stop letting religious folks drag you into tombs Jesus already walked you out of. You're not living in adultery.
You're living in redemption.
Unless you're out here cheating again, then, yeah, that's a sin. Get it together, man. What are you doing with your life?
Sin isn't your past.
Sin is unrepented rebellion.
But grace
is still greater. And think about that for a minute.
Thoughts?
All right. So this kind of ties into one of the fussings that Kay and I have. And it goes right back to the 613 mitzvot. And one of them is not to marry a woman who has been married before. However, by the time that I divorced my first wife, the pool was pretty thin on those who had been unmarried. And so it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that's what it says, but this is what Kelly was talking about. It's about that grace. And so Kay and I got married, but technically, if you were to hold us to the original or the expansion of the 10 commandments, which is the 613 commandments, it says that Kay and I are living in sin because we got married because she was married before. So how does it actually work? Are we committing sin by being married now because she had been married with children before? No, we're not. As a matter of fact, because she's been forgiven, I've been forgiven. And so now, like Kelly was saying there, we're not committing sin now because everything that we're doing is designed to follow God to the best of our ability. We may have made mistakes before. We may not have been forgiving. We may have done all sorts of things wrong. And that was then not worried about the past, her past, my past. It doesn't matter because it's not here now. And so Kay and I, we do everything that we can to make sure that we're living in the present. And I do believe that grace is there. And I know that people do misunderstand and try to hang on everything that Jesus said, even though that may not have been what he was intending. But by diving deeper into the Bible, we start to really understand what God was getting at, and that there is forgiveness. You're making mistakes. Do the best that you can. Don't keep making the same mistakes. Mike says, "Thank God I've been divorced many times." Carol says, "I really don't pay any mind to church rules." Yeah, well, the human ones are the real problem.
Yeah.
It's the laws in the Bible are the laws in the Bible, and that neither one jot nor tittle will be removed from the law. And so the law is still there, but it is a guide, and so long as we're using that guideline to show us the direction to go, we are following his way. And I think that that's what really matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We got to do it his way.
Mhm.
Ready?
No thoughts on that? I guess I'm ready. Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, I don't feel like we're living in sin, because
No.
I had every right to get a divorce because of what he did.
Because of the things that were happening.
Yeah.
Right. And
So, I mean, that doesn't mean,
we're doing anything wrong now.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, after 26 years, I think we got it right.
Certainly a lot better than we were doing before.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. All right. Insane footage shows a whale nearly capsizing a boat in New Jersey. Oh, I saw part of this. This makes my stomach turn.
You ready?
Yeah, whatever.
Let's watch.
No.
Stay here, stay here. Oh my God, they're going over. Oh, man overboard. Shut the motor off. Shut the motor off.
Thoughts?
Be careful boating. Understand what's underneath you. I have no idea
That's
what was
their
going on.
domain.
It is their domain. And if you have a critter going underneath your boat, please
Turn the engine
turn the
off.
damn engines off. I have no idea. It's weird things are happening. And I think that sometimes we forget that we need to respect nature, and that it's not for us to dominate so much as we do.
Right.
Hey, Donnell, thanks for joining. Yes, religions can be cults without a doubt. It's about trying to walk the path, not trying to come up with a whole bunch of new laws, rules, and regulations like the Sanhedrin did, which is exactly what Jesus was, kind of up against.
Right.
26 years. What?
Thank you.
For us. What happened for 26 years?
We've been together for.
Have we been together for 26? Oh my God, it's so long. Change a thing.
Such a brat.
But I love you.
I love you. Are you
It
ready?
must be love. Otherwise, you would have left me a long time ago.
Are you ready?
Yes,
Would you read this, please?
certainly. All right, here we go. Jim Brewer drags legacy media for mind control tactics,
Let's listen.
or drags them.
Listen, not to what she's saying, but listen to how they interrupt and the words they use.
Released in the months leading up to the November 2016
Wait,
election
ignore
concluded
this.
that Russia had neither the intent
Ignore
nor
this.
capability to impact the
Doesn't
outcome
matter.
of the U.S. election.
Doesn't matter.
On December 5th.
We've been listening there to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, continuing on what has now been a multi-day effort, not only with public statements like this, but release of documents to attempt to back up the quite extreme allegation.
In the attempt to give these extreme allegations, how do you not understand that is dipping in your mind and telling you what to think before you even have a moment to digest the situation. That is no different than I walk in and go, attempting to give these outrageous allegations, and if you can't stand this person or you can't stand the other news, you're already all in. If I'm a liberal, I'm like, yeah, it's crazy allegations, it's just insane. That is called brainwashing, and if you're falling for it, you're being brainwashed. Listen to the words they use to manipulate your thoughts.
Some sort of conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
By the intelligence community at the time that Russia interfered in the 2016 election.
Multiple intelligence.
Listen again to the words they use. Are you ready? This is mind control. Right now, someone's going, you need to interrupt the program. They're not reporters. CNN is not reporters. None of these news networks are reporting. They're telling you what to think.
Thoughts?
All right. So it's so common, and both sides do it. Don't kid yourself. It's the things that we need to protect ourselves from. So I'm going to bring up Drudge Report, and just right off the bat, they're trying to set a narrative, and you can tell with the picture that they have here. Look at that. What message could they be trying to send here with President Trump in that pose? Obviously, since they've been calling him a Nazi for so long, they're going to do what they can to make him look like a Nazi. They're going to make it sound like, oh, it's so terrible. Nobody likes him. He wants nukes on the White House roof. Right. Why would the man want nukes on the White House roof? And, you click on it, the Daily Mirror. Oh, great. The Brits. No, don't. Nothing with me. Just leave me alone. Of course, they got to have their giant advertisements in the way. You got to go through half of the stupid article first because all they care about is money. Get all these pop-ups out of the way. And so, yeah, performed a very unusual gesture during a walkabout on the roof of the White House just after apparently claiming he wanted to install nuclear missiles up there. So let's see. Let's see what they got.
Mech-10 is engineered for complex.
Oh, never mind. Geez, advertisements. Got too many ads. And this is one of the reasons why we don't do so many articles from the left, because we'd love to bring this to you, because I want to show you that language that they're using and about how they're trying to force a perspective without giving people the opportunity.
Silver's comment?
No, I was looking at, I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm done with that anyways. Mind control propaganda. It is. And a lot of people think that that's conspiracy talk, mind control. You can't control my mind through the computer. Yes, you can, because they tell you how to think based off of the words they use, because they use logical fallacies for their communication. If it wasn't mind control, everybody would understand all of the logical fallacies, so that way we could be having rational discussions as opposed to this banter that they give us on, well, the View's not around anymore, correct? Correct.
Yay.
Oh, hold on. Let's give the View its due. So it is mind control, but it's difficult to explain that to somebody, and especially if they don't know what logical fallacies are. And so they are trying to control people's minds. It's just, how do you tell somebody that their mind is under control if they are absolutely convinced because the TV tells them that their mind isn't controlled?
Right.
Well, I think we have to go through exactly what we've been going through. And that's why so many people have been waking up. That's why these things, when President Trump got arrested, and this was one of those things that kind of lined up with the Q proofs. The first arrest will cause a mass population awakening. And man, after he got arrested, there was a mass awakening of people like, well, hold on now, what's going on around here? And so people started asking questions. You have to make people see the things that they don't want to see, so that way they have the reason to try to open their minds and start asking questions when they're used to that line of thinking that's provided to them pablum, which is pre-chewed food that mama birds give to baby birds. Pablum. They give people pablum. They chew it up and digest it for them, so that way it's just easy to go down and they don't have to work hard at it. Now people are saying, hold on, I need to do a little bit of thinking here. Liberty says, I'm guessing he went on the roof to inspect it, probably needing resurfaced. I would have liked to have been able to get through the article, but I couldn't get past all the advertisements that were in the way. And then the liberal media wonders why nobody really pays attention to them as much as they used to. Yeah, the view is gone. So
Thank goodness.
The process that we're going through is a necessary process to get people to use their brains again, as opposed to accepting the pre-digested news that they've been receiving for so long.
Exactly.
And what's really hard are the people who are smart and should be smarter than what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tough one, because there are very, very smart people who are still under the ether. Sadly.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's listen.
All right.
Nobody can steal your peace without your permission. Nobody can ruin your day unless you turn the responsibility over to them. The Bible says this is the day that the Lord has made. So the one who gave you the day, the one who put you in this moment of your life, the one who gave it to you, also expects you to guard it, to guard what you have been given.
Thoughts?
All right. We need to guard what we've been given. And that's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because sometimes we don't even know where we're getting attacked. And so what do we guard? We guard our hearts, and we bounce what our heart says off of the Bible. In the end, that's really probably the best thing that we can do, and know that the world is constantly trying to attack you and trying to change who you are.
Without a doubt. And he was right in the beginning when he said, no one can take your peace away unless you allow them to.
Yeah, 100%. Come on, baby.
I mean, there's just no way because here's the thing. The one thing you can control is your emotions. We say that all the time on here.
We say it a lot. We do our best, but we still got work to do. Don't get it twisted.
Of course. But one of the things I'm really working on is not letting anyone take my peace or my joy.
Yeah.
God gave me those and I want to hold on tight.
And those are the things that are important. He gives us our joy. And that was one of the lesson plans today is there's a difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is because you won a competition, because you managed to achieve something that you want. That's happiness. Joy is when you don't get rattled when bad things happen. What is that? That joy is still being in love with your life, in love with your God, your creator. So that way these other things, these temporary setbacks that happen don't prevent you from that these temporary setbacks don't destroy what you do have. We should always have that peace, and that's what that joy is that peace and confidence, knowing that God loves you, and that despite the challenges, there's still a reason to be in that joy, because we know that he does it all for our good. It's kind of like the needing to count it all joy. We have to count it all joy because we know that through our suffering, it produces perseverance. And oh God, what's the rest of the verse? I can't remember the rest of the verse.
It's on your phone. We just did it today.
Yeah, but not today's verse of the day.
No, but
yeah.
I put it in my comment.
Oh, there you go. There we go.
Yeah.
Guard our hearts, our ear gates, eye gates, and our mouth. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the mouth one is the one that I have a hard time guarding.
Yeah.
Silver says, that is so important, Kay. Yes. Well said.
Exactly. I mean, we just have to. We absolutely have to. Why? It's all about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at your problems with a heart of faith, then your perspective changes immediately.
Very much so.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you read that, please?
Sweet. All right. Tim Burchett got kicked by a horse, broke a rib, and only missed one congressional meeting.
Let's listen.
Mhm.
Tell us how you're doing. What happened?
I'm great. Well, I actually, my daughter's a barrel racer, and we've got several horses. And my wife and I were bringing a couple in, and I had one. My wife took one in ahead of me, and I was behind her, and a big old horsefly about the size of your thumb landed on that horse's tail end. And I was trying to get it away before it bit it, and sure enough, it bit him, and the horse yelped, and it kicked up, and then it kicked back, and then both feet came up and caught me right in the rib cage, right about there. So I broke a rib, went to the hospital, the trauma center, I guess, is where they ended up taking me. I didn't want to take an ambulance because I knew you all in the media would probably beat me there, help unload the stretcher. And I'm cheap anyway, and that would have cost some more money. So I just said, forget it. I said, load up the Bronco, and my wife drove me. And you never know how many potholes there are in the roads. And Tennessee has the best roads in the country, but until you break a rib and are driving down the road, because dadgum, it hurt. And but I only missed one meeting. I missed one young man's Eagle Scout, which I'm sorry I missed. I try to make all those things. I'll end up taking him out for a pizza buffet or something to celebrate. But I haven't missed. I've got drivers that'll take me around when I'm uncomfortable, and I'm still trying to make everything.
Well, a certain scene from Yellowstone comes to mind where something very similar happened, and the character was not so lucky. So yeah. So I'm so glad you're with us still.
Well,
so,
thank you, brother. I told somebody, I said, yeah, if I wasn't, all the people that hated me will be at my funeral saying what a great person I was.
Well, I'm glad that's not the case.
All right.
Thoughts?
Think
he was being protected? Because he could have got really hurt.
Oh, I know. And here's the thing: is that he manned up, plain and simple. There's a job to do, and he went out and did it, and he feels guilty for the things that he missed.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost a lot of that here in this nation. It's not one of those things that has been appreciated. As a matter of fact, the more effeminate things are the things that have been appreciated in life. We went through this phase where, masculinity was toxic. And now we're starting to find out that this kind of masculinity, this is real masculinity. What can I do about it? You're going to, what'd they do? Put them in a full body cast? No, you're still fine. Just, be careful is all that really needs to be said. Don't get kicked in the chest by a horse again. It's kind of the best advice that you can really have here. Be careful. But it's like, we know that if you stop your normal routines because of something that happened like this, even though you could maintain it a little bit more slowly, a little bit more cautiously, a little bit more belabored, because it's difficult to breathe. I think I've had cracked rib. I don't know. I never went to the doctor, but I certainly know that my chest hurt for a long time. And so it was just a matter of, taking it easy for a couple of days as best as I could. But here I am.
He had a broken ankle and didn't even know it. He still ran in the Marine Corps and everything.
Grab a box of straws and suck it up. That's about the best thing we can do.
Yep.
And not to discount going to see professional medical help when you really need it. Yeah. I mean, if something's misshapen or if you're having some real problems, then by all means, go see a doctor. And I think he did the right thing.
You're just not a fan.
But what can they do? It wasn't like there was a rib sticking out of my chest.
I know.
And I didn't have a tension pneumothorax, which would have indicated a breach into the air, the lung. But none of that happened. And so it's just, hey, be gentle. And I didn't hear any crunchiness. So,
yeah. A broken rib is awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sucks.
You ready?
Yeah.
Would you read that, please?
China has U.S. on a chokehold.
Down here.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted to read that anyways. Who's VDH?
I don't know.
Okay, probably this guy on the right.
Yeah, Victor David Hansen.
Oh, Victor Davis Hansen. Okay. Anyways, Our dependence on China is because the corporate class chose profit over independence. What? No, say it isn't so. The corporations chose profit over people? I don't believe that. He's gonna have to really explain that one to me, because I know that the corporations care about this nation.
You know what Carol said?
I had jammed 4 ribs. That still hurts sometimes. Yeah. Silver says, I'm with Santino. I have avoid doctors if at all possible. The old saying, God does the healing, doctor takes the bill.
Yep. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked about this, you and I, for I don't know how many years at this point, but how important is it for our future and our independence for us to have a real industrial policy to take this leverage back from China?
It's very important, and we can do it very easily, Laura. This was all done by design, not by accident or fate. We have plentiful natural rare earth materials in California, Wyoming. We just opened a mine in Montana. We produce twice the nuclear energy that China does. We have 3 times the production of oil, 3 times or 4 times the production of gas. They brag about their coal plants. We have twice the coal reserves that China does. And we're the leading producer, as I said, of nuclear energy. And they're dependent on everything. And we're really, if we wanted to be dependent on nothing. We're autonomous. We could be self-sufficient in all of our natural resources. We don't need to have 300,000 Chinese students here in the United States. And a lot of them deprive opportunities of Americans from the heartland. There's no reason we have to have this enormous investment in China. And it's just a choice we've made. For our corporate class and our investor class found it very profitable to build up China. And the result is we're not self-sufficient and we're vulnerable. And we could easily rectify it if we made some changes at the very top.
Thoughts?
You mean we have all the supplies that we need right here? God, if somebody would have only taken advantage of that. Oh, that's right. President Trump has been. And the Chinese have been certainly trying to take advantage of our reserves of natural resources like rare earth minerals and such. Of course, I'm sure that had nothing to do with any kind of backroom deals, like we were talking about with the Fed yesterday, and then all of these CCP police stations and all that weird stuff going on. It's something that we have allowed to happen as a citizenry. We allowed foreign nations to invest. We allowed all of these things to happen. And we need to have a much more active role in our own governance, so that way that we do have the rights to our resources. It's our land. All of that stuff belongs to, well, all of us. It has nothing to do with any one specific corporation over another. It's something that we, the people, have ownership of, and we've forgotten that, and we've allowed it to get away from us. And of course, we're hoping and praying that President Trump is going to kind of even up the playing field here. But it's something that we should most assuredly keep in mind, because all of those resources are all of ours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. All right, hold on here. Here we go. All right, Natalie Winters reacts to Bolsonaro's house arrest in Brazil.
Let's listen.
All right.
Our White House correspondent to join us. Number one, Bolsonaro has been arrested. The police are currently searching President Bolsonaro's home. This is, and I'm reading off a tweet by Michael Schellenberger, hours after the release of the January 8 file showing illegal activity by Brazil's most powerful Supreme Court Justice, Alexander de Moraes. He has ordered the house arrest of former President Bolsonaro. Before we get to our other topic, Natalie, your reaction. This is starting to ratchet up. Lula over the weekend trashing President Trump, trashing the U.S. dollar, saying that Brazil will never, his administration will never fold to President Trump. And now we have the arrest and I guess the house confinement of President Bolsonaro. Your thoughts?
Well, I think Brazil is sort of a representation of what they want to do to the broader global populist movement. What was it, 2 or 3 years ago? I remember we were standing in Arizona speaking at AmFest, talking about how we had unearthed a trove, I believe it was National Science Foundation grants, highlighting how they were spending US tax dollars not on just debunking misinformation, but on pre-bunking what they deemed misinformation that was supportive to the populist movement in Brazil. And I think that that's a very emblematic sort of story about not just how the United States has been involved in Brazil, but what Brazil represents to the sort of American elite here, the ruling class. They view it, I think, what really can only be summed up in the election of Bolsonaro, right, as a Brazilian populist uprising, and they are doing everything they can to crush him. You throw in, I think, Chinese Communist Party influence and obviously rogue judges. That's an issue we're experiencing here, and that's why you've seen, what is it? I feel like every day there's a new development there that we could probably dedicate a whole show to. But make no mistake, it's about the populist movement more broadly.
Natalie, another kind of, and people are kind of wondering how this even came about, but explain what had been announced and then it's just been reversed. In fact, I think DHS has just come out and said from the White House said it's been reversed. It was this kind of announcement or leak this morning about emergency aid tied to dealing with Israel as a nation state. A lot of people were upset about it. I think it's been reversed. If it was ever even something formal in the first place, can you explain what happened at the White House?
Yeah, I think there was potentially a very large miscarriage of what it means to be America first, particularly in the DHS guidelines for federal aid, emergency response assistance. We were talking about $1.9 billion. It was a FEMA sort of act. There were the guidelines. It was a multi-page document talking about the stipulations that was conditioned on that aid. One of them, one of these points really gained a lot of, I think, attention on social media. And I would say the top line takeaway from this is when we see things that we don't like going on in the Trump administration, the answer is to call it out because they are very receptive and they are willing to answer and frankly change the policy. I think we actually, another scoop for the war room, we'll take it. But I think we actually reported it before DHS did, but talking about how they changed the text of these guidelines and not just changed, but actually completely stripped the inclusion. We have the picture if you want to put it up on screen, but there previously was a section that read discriminatory prohibited boycott means refusing to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations, specifically with Israeli companies or with companies doing business in or with Israel or authorized by, licensed by, or organized under the laws of Israel to do business. If you look at the juxtaposition, you can go to my Twitter. If we don't have the picture up on screen, you can see that that segment has been completely stripped. So this aid still is conditioned on a few things. Companies or grants, city states can't use DEI programs and they can't give out free assistance to illegal aliens. I think that is probably closer to what it means to be America first than it is to condition any form of aid, let alone FEMA disaster aid, on not doing business or boycotting a foreign nation.
Great job, Natalie. There it is right there. You see it's X'd out. Thank you so much for your hard work. Natalie, thank you for jumping back on here. One more time, where do people go to keep up with everything you've got on your social media feed, ma'am? Where do they go?
Natalie G. Winters on all platforms. Thank you for having me back.
Thoughts?
All right. So arresting a former president. Boy, haven't heard about anything like that at all, especially a populist former president. Part of the game. Of course, keep in mind, Brazil wants to be a leader in this BRICS thing that's going on, the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But those nations seem to be running into some roadblocks with the things that they want to do in their attempt to unseat the United States. And let's not get any of this twisted here. In the end, that's what all this is about. It's about trying to make what was the American experiment disappear forever. It is about unseating the United States as the world's superpower. And why should the U.S. want to be the world's superpower? Obviously, it gets us into a lot of trouble, and there's presidents who get in office that want to be the police force for the entire world. But the thing is it's because we forgot what we were supposed to do. And a lot of that was based off of the crap that the Federal Reserve has been doing to this nation for the sake of mammon. This country has a mammon worship problem. Let's not get it twisted. That's what's really going on. And so this populist movement that it keeps getting labeled, and remember that there are those in the deep state that's specifically what they're going after, are those that are a part of this populist movement. And that's why the big push against President Trump, because he's a great voice in the populist movement around the entire world, not just inside the United States. And so as we move forward, they're going to try to maintain the gains that they've made in various nations around the world. I would say that Brazil might be one of those countries where the deep state, Hail Hydra kind of crap, have gotten their tentacles all in Brazil. And with that being said, they're going to fight to keep the power that they have, whereas this populist movement, as it's been labeled, like so many things have been labeled, like conspiracy theorists and whatnot, these labels that they put out there are actually the people that are trying to fight for traditional values that respect each and every individual as an equal, regardless of their race, creed, color, national origin, name it. Right. The traditional American values. And so we have to fight to get these values to be a part of our normal daily lives. And to say that, we're in a capitalist society is just as disingenuous as saying that this is what America was supposed to be. No, it's not.
Right.
We know that. Anyways, all right, off my soapbox here.
It's not a soapbox. Just yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna get on mine. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's listen.
All right.
Whenever you are close to what you want, the counterfeit shows up. Some of y'all gonna have to get discernment, because you are shouting over something that's designed to kill you and complaining about stuff that's designed to build you.
Thoughts?
All right. Let's see. Everything that looks like a blessing isn't. One of the points that he was making there. So, boy, is that the truth. I'm trying to think of a personal story here, and I'm really kind of drawing a blank to it. I have seen things that look like a blessing, and those things in time have shown themselves to not be the blessing that I hoped that they would be. But the blessing that I end up getting out of that is the lesson. There's blessings and lessons. And when I'm not listening to what his design is, what he wants is, it turns out to be a lesson. In which case, praise be to God, he loves me enough to give me the lessons, because I wasn't knowing how to accept the blessing. Silver says the founding fathers laid it all out for us. Yes. And in simple, plain English, and they did it in only 4 pages.
I know. Imagine that.
Yeah, I know. If there was only some things that we could extrapolate from the wisdom of having, entire constitutions done in like 4 pages.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Could you read that, please?
Certainly. All right, here we go. Trump administration really, really wants more ICE agents. I've been hearing this.
Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
Is offering now these $50,000 signing bonuses, student loan forgiveness for any new ICE agents. This is a massive campaign to recruit more than 10,000 new agents this year. 10,000, that number, if achieved, would make ICE the single largest law enforcement agency in the nation. Trisha, tell us how that's going and what kind of response are you getting for this recruitment effort?
We are getting an overwhelming response. Already have 1,000 final offers out as of now, Cheryl, but we know we're going to turbocharge that in the coming weeks and get even more ICE enforcement officers on the ground. There's really strength in numbers, and these men and women are doing the Lord's work. They are getting the worst of the worst off of America's streets, and America can be so proud of them. If you are interested in joining ICE and being on the front lines, go to join.ice.gov.
Thoughts?
All right, so hold on. I got to play this. I hope that this is the right video, so bear with me while I'm trying to get this figured out here real quick.
I don't just start saying things during an election. Real change is that you'll stand up to the lobbyists and the special interests when you've taken more money from lobbyists and special interests than any of the Democrats or Republicans running for president, like my opponent has.
And you.
I am the only one in this race who's actually passed laws to take power away from lobbyists.
In what, the 6 weeks that you were in office?
Count on me working to reduce their power when I'm president of the United States of America.
I was hoping this is the one where he talks about his civilian police force.
For a bankruptcy bill that makes it harder for families to climb out of debt. Senator Clinton and I had a debate back in Las Vegas. She said, well, she voted for this bill, but she hoped it wouldn't pass.
Okay, never mind. I can't stand him. I was hoping that it was going to be the clip where he says that he wants that new civilian police force that was bigger and stronger than the military. And now that the Democrats are finally getting that, because I know he was talking about the Department of Homeland Security when he was doing that. And well, now that ICE and Border Patrol and all of that other stuff is folded into the Department of Homeland Security, they got exactly what he was talking about. But apparently they didn't think any further into the future that he wasn't going to be king forever. Maliki Obama wasn't Maliki enough. Maliki being the I think I forgot the language. Kenyan word for king. Yeah, that's it. It was the Kenyan word for king, if I remember correctly. Anyways, yeah, they are now getting the opportunity to see what that large police force looks like, and now they don't like it. For what it's worth, I'm not too excited about it either, but I would say that the invading army that was brought in just the last 4 years alone would be the main reason why we need that large civilian police force to protect us from any enemies, foreign or domestic, that may or may not be here.
Exactly.
I don't know. Just a thought.
Yep. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. Former Tennessee football coach Derek Dooley launches Senate campaign in Georgia.
Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
I started going to Georgia's practice as long as I can remember. I think my first games that I really remember were probably the 1975 season. I guess I was about 7 then. You know, one of the great milestones for me as a kid was when I was old enough to where my father would trust me being on the sidelines during a football game. You watched him roll up his sleeves and work hard and have respect for everybody he encountered. He always followed through, and it taught me to do the same. To me, those are Georgia values. The only thing that matters to me is the people of Georgia are proud with who's representing them in Washington, D.C. President Trump campaigned on things, and he's turning them into results. I haven't known a president in my lifetime who's been able to achieve these kind of results. That's what the people want. They want somebody who's going to mean what they say what they mean, and then go deliver results. I spent 3 decades in coaching, probably doing the exact opposite what a lot of DC politicians were doing. I sat in kitchens and living rooms with people from all walks of life. The only thing that mattered was trying to create hope and opportunity for them and that family. That's leadership. It's how you represent people. You're there to serve. We need good old-fashioned Georgia common sense. Georgians know biological men shouldn't be playing in women's sports, that hardworking people should keep more of their money and government should spend less of it, that opening our border makes us less safe. Professional politicians like John Ossoff are the problem. Lawlessness, open season on the border, inflation everywhere, woke stuff, that's what they represent. We need new leadership in Georgia. That's why I'm running for Senate. I'm Derek Dooley. I'm going to work with President Trump, fight for you, and always put Georgia first.
Shared Donnell's comment there. Oh, Donnell said, hope and change. You hope you got some change in your pocket at the end of the day. Yeah, boy, wasn't that the hope that we were hoping for? It was just a little bit of change left over at the end of the day. All right. So that man running for office out there in Georgia, pretty slick ad, by the way. And I think that certainly these coaches are shown to be leaders. They can lead people, and that's what we need. And we need people to actually follow through with what they're saying. Now, it's easy for anybody running in politics to make a slick ad where it says that I'm going to follow through with my promises, and of course he's talking about President Trump and the promises that he's followed through with up to this point. And we're not even a full year into it, barely even a half a year into President Trump's second term here. We know that the first term he followed through with pretty much everything he said that he was going to do. So now we're watching and we're observing President Trump start to follow through with all these things that he says. And so if President Trump is supporting this man and he says that he's going to do what he's saying and he's promising that he wants to give back to the people and he understands what it's like to sit down with family members, I believe that. I definitely believe that. And I believe that he is most assuredly worth a shot over the people that have been there. And this isn't a carte blanche, get rid of all of the incumbents, but certainly the incumbents who have been going for a lot of the politics as usual kind of lifestyle that this nation has been subjected to for so long now. Sir, I pray for you. I pray that you win and that you follow through with what you say, because that's exactly what we need here. Yeah. Sea Strike says, I can't believe a video I saw yesterday, and a ton of politicians have been in office over 40 years. Hello, there's a problem here. Yeah, I agree. The people that have been in there for 40 years, and I know people are all against or all for term limits, but I don't know if that's going to be in our best interest moving forward in the future, especially if we can get the House of Representatives right, with better sized districts that are more manageable, like that 30,000 thing that I keep railing on about. But if you think about that, and that congressperson is, forced to live and they do their votes because they're not going to some fancy pants marble land in a swamp in between the North and the South over there on the East Coast. And they're actually having to answer their front door because the neighbor says, hey, Bob, what the hell did you vote on that for? Because I've talked to at least hundreds of other people, and ain't nobody happy about this. So we look forward to seeing you in the next forum meeting where you have to explain yourself. That's what we need. We need these Congress people to have to explain themselves.
Absolutely.
Just a thought. That would fix it. Not saying that people can only be in one political position for a short period of time. More than likely 12 years would be my guess. And that doesn't mean that they can't screw up enough. And then we've also found out that they have a lot more power once they get out of office, because then they become lobbyists.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's who a lot of our lobbyists are, people that used to be in office. So let's not create more lobbyists. Let's just make them accountable to the people that they should be living next door to.
I think Mike passed out again. He hasn't said anything, and he would have said something on that video.
Yeah, he would have said something.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Sleep well, Mike.
Would you read that, please?
Yeah, hold on one second. I got to blow that one up. That's a little
just this first part, right?
Minutia print. I don't even see that. All right. Let's see. John Solomon is reporting that his sources are telling him that the grand jury for the grand conspiracy will likely take place in Florida.
Let's listen.
All righty.
This is a major development. We told you last week that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, had given permission for a strike force to begin. That's a very specific tool the Justice Department uses on major conspiracies. And we told you then we would know it was getting serious when the grand jury jumped into action. We now know that a grand jury will be impaneled. Most likely, my sources are telling me, it could be in Florida, where the raid of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home help. And so that is the very latest. You can check it out at Just News. We're going to have a whole lot more on that over the course of the next years. This is a major
thoughts.
The grand jury. This is where it starts. It's literally starting. The information is really going to start coming out once the grand jury says yes, it's prosecutable. Then we'll start to see maybe arrests. Then we'll start to see a lot more of the information come out. I don't remember who it was earlier talking about the lawyers got really busy recently. No, they've been busy as soon as President Trump got back into office. They knew that the time was nigh, and the time is nigher than it was. So yeah, let's see what the grand jury says, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Absolutely. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Would you read that, please?
Sweetly. All right. There we go. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett logically defends Bureau of Labor Statistics firing.
Let's listen.
All right.
First of all, they could be politically manipulated because they're so untransparent. There's a black box system out there making the jobs numbers that needs to be improved. Indeed, the UK saw a similar circumstance like this a few years ago, and they actually shut down the data agency for a month or so until they got their ducks in a row. The fact is that we had these blockbuster numbers for Joe Biden last year that suddenly we lost about 1 million of them after he dropped out of the election. The fact is that I'm an economist. I'm not a politician. But when politicians look at numbers that make them wonder, then that suggests that there needs to be more transparency. So, for example, if I'm running the BLS and I have the biggest revision, really think about it, the biggest revision outside of COVID in 50 years, then it's incumbent on me to explain why in a very transparent way, to show how the numbers add up, to show exactly where the revision came from and what you're doing to address it so it doesn't happen again. If you don't do that, then you create a circumstance where politicians are going to wonder. And for goodness sakes, we know that hopefully not much in the data area, but all over the U.S. government, there have been people who have been resisting Trump everywhere they can. And so to make sure that that's not going to happen in the data agencies, to make sure that the data are as transparent and as reliable as possible, we're going to get highly qualified people in there that have a fresh start and a fresh set of eyes on the problem.
There we go. Struggling there. I must have had the microphones on still. All right. So, surprise, the person that was fudging the numbers had a reason to get canned. Yeah, I know. Weird mystery. Hold on. Get this to it. There we go. Strange mystery. Here's the thing is they've changed their methodology multiple times over at the Bureau of Labor Statistics in each decade, the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and the 2020s. And of course, they sit there and they say, oh, it's changed because there's new methods, more detailed ways of looking at it. Advancements in technology. Apparently, advancements in technology changed the way we count numbers. Still BS somewhere else.
Right. We're all filled up.
Yeah, we're all filled up here. And so I'm glad. I'm sorry that you lost your job, but at the same time, you were fudging numbers and you knew it. And those kinds of things affect everyday people's lives. And that's the part that concerns me more than one job, because it's millions of jobs that get affected by those very numbers that for some reason need to change the way they get counted so frequently. It should be simple. Yeah, it's the new math.
It's that new math.
I don't think we need to have any kind of new math. The old math was working fine. They built the SR-71 off of a slide rule, some pencils, and some graph paper. So I'm going to say that the old math worked just fine. Computers may be fine and dandy, but they've certainly been taking away a lot of our ability to think, not our ability to think, our desire to think, because we're lazy and humans choose the path of least resistance. And that's why people have gotten into these places like running the Bureau of Labor Statistics and being able to say, oh, it's too complicated for you to understand. If I hear that something is too complicated ever again, I'm I'm going to blame them for their inability to communicate it so that every American can understand it. That was one of the beautiful things that Napoleon, the general, said. That it was one of the most important things that he did, and that was he ran his plan in front of his most junior non-commissioned officer. Why did he do that? Because he needed that individual to understand the plan, the commander's intent. And if he couldn't understand it, then there was no reason to do that plan because it was too complicated. It's the complications in our life that cause so many problems. And those complications are usually because people are trying to obfuscate or hide pertinent information that people would be very upset if it was much more normal kind of math. A lot of things need to change, and getting rid of somebody who fudges numbers to pick a political side is the last thing that we need. We don't need it for President Trump. If the person that comes in there and starts faking numbers for President Trump, I'm going to be just as pissed off and then as I am now. Of course, I'm not pissed off now because this problem isn't causing more problems.
Right.
We need solutions, and people that are going to tell the truth are much more important to me than people that are so smart that it's too complicated for them to explain it to me.
Yes.
Mike says, figures don't lie, but liars figure. Huh, figure that.
Yeah. Exactly. And we got Sheriff Hector over on Pill.
Hey, Sheriff Hector, thank you for joining.
Can you answer that question real quick?
Silver says, how far apart is Tampa and Greenville? I don't know. I'd have to do a Google search.
They're not that far.
Greenville, where Greenville in Florida?
I don't think so.
Tampa to Green. Okay. If it's South Carolina, it's an 8-hour and 44-minute drive.
Okay. There you go.
Glad we could get that figured out.
You ready?
All right. These important questions we answer here.
I know. Hey, we're here for the fam.
We're here for the fam.
Ready?
If you need driving directions, it's right there on the Google.
Ready?
Yes.
Let's listen.
All right.
God does not change you with a wand. He changes you through circumstances. If some of you would get that, you will stop complaining every time you go through something. God does not transform you with a wand. He actually shapes you through circumstances. For some of you praying to get out of something, you should be praying for God to change you in it. Some of the things he allows you to suffer is because he's trying to introduce you into a better version of you. But he does not change you with a wand. He changes you through pressure and circumstances and troubles. These things is his school. And when you get mature, you start thanking him for them.
Thoughts?
It's a school. How many times have we said that? This is a schoolhouse. Rabbi means teacher. You only need a teacher in a schoolhouse. We're here to learn. We should learn. And yeah, these problems that we have in our life are, well, math sucked too, or at least I sucked at math and always felt that was a problem. But I know it was for my own personal betterment, even though I had no desire to get good at it in comparison to what, was possible. It's all about perspective. And that perspective is that if we accept the fact that we're students in a schoolhouse, it makes it that switch in perspective makes it a little bit easier to deal with the trials and challenges and problems like we have when we were in school. It makes it so that way we have that reason to try to make it through and pass that test, that problem.
And he's not 911 Jesus.
No, he's not 911 Jesus.
Or fairy Jesus or any of that. It takes time and it takes work.
Vending machine Jesus.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways.
You ready?
Yes.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. Jeffrey Mead talks slowly for unhinged, rude leftist defending drunk driving illegal aliens.
Let's listen.
All right.
A mother and her 11-year-old daughter were killed when they were hit head-on by an illegal alien.
Do you know their names? Without Googling? You and I both know you don't. You just use them to make your little bigoted video because you're a piece of shit. You're a fucking horrible human being and a goddamn hypocrite. 1,000 kids were raped by fucking youth pastors in Christian churches in the United States last year. 13,000 people.
You know their
died in
names?
fucking drunk driving related accidents. Most of them killed by U.S. fucking citizens. White
What are their names?
U.S. citizens are 2 to 4 times as likely to commit violent crimes as immigrants. Those are all fucking facts. Those are all statistical facts.
Show me.
But you're going to cherry pick one fucking illegal immigrant who absolutely had a drinking and driving problem and shouldn't have been on the road
Yeah, I'm sure he's the only one.
to make your little video, not because you're worried about drunk drivers, but because you're a fucking racist.
This is a grown man. And this is
No,
what
he's
you
not.
see with many in the modern Democratic Party. I'm going to say this slowly. The point of the video was that that illegal immigrant should not have been in the country. And as a result of him being allowed to be in the country when he shouldn't have been in the country, 2 people are now dead. And it's so interesting because many of these people act like they're so morally superior, but then they're rude, they're arrogant, they're condescending. They call you names, they attack you, they call you horrible persons simply because you disagree with them. They call you bigot, they call you racist, they call you all the names in the book. It's like they don't have a mirror, they're above reproach. You can tell many of these people are not emotionally stable. And the Democratic Party manipulates that emotion to continue to get their vote, but they don't realize it. Many of these people are disingenuous and in many ways are the exact thing they claim to hate. Just a reminder, I have a free email newsletter where I cover many things the mainstream media.
All right.
Thoughts?
All right. So, sounds spot on. Yeah. All right. So, the angry old white dude that thinks that he's not racist because he calls other white people racist, no, whatever. If that's what makes you feel better, old man, whatever you're trying to make up for that you didn't do when you were younger, you ain't going to fix it that way, dude. He did a great job explaining things, but I highly doubt that man would listen because he's too busy trying to press a narrative without understanding. And the standard with which he holds the original TikToker to was not one that he held himself to. Without checking the internet, what is the names of all of these people? What kind of argument are you making? Come on, man, pull your head out. That's not going to be helpful. And what exactly are you arguing for? That this person that came here illegally, that did things to hurt people, that he has a right to be here? Yes, there are people here in the United States that are citizens that drink and drive. What do you want? Why do we need foreigners that came here, sneaking across the border? Why do we need them to do that when we have plenty of our own? We've got enough madness here in this nation without importing more idiots. We don't need that. And you know what? Why? What are you getting out of that? Is there, I don't know, is your local rub and tug shop, is that all run by illegals? Is that the only place that you can get that done? I'd like to find out more about why that man feels that it's necessary to defend a group of people that are actually ruining the place that he grew up in. Is he willing to put them in his house? I'm pretty sure I already know the answer to that one.
You know he's not. You
I
see
know
what
he's not.
Steph said?
Yeah, he didn't say their names either. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Ugh.
those are the things that confuse and befuddle me. Is what case are you making, and what benefit are we receiving out of this? And with all of the homeless people that you see on the street, because they're in every city now, at least I've seen them in every city over at least 100,000 people in it. And so I'm wondering, is there not a reason why those people can have the house that illegal alien's in? Is there a reason why they can't drink and drive that person is? I'm missing something here. Why that protected class is so much more important than the people that were already here to begin with.
Yeah.
Aaron says, this guy explains it for a liberal to understand. slowly. I don't think slowly helps either sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
I voted to get rid of all 50 million. Is 50, is that it? Is 50 million it?
I think
Or
there's
is there more? Is there more? I don't know. But that sure is, even if we divide that by a quarter, assuming that they're all, Maryland man with families and everything. So, 50 divided by 4, 1 point something, 1.5 million or something like that. Houses that would be available, apartments, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Well, that would certainly help take care of our homeless population, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Me too, Mike. Aaron says illegal alien is not a race. It is a race. Got to run for the border, man.
Oh, good. Are you ready?
Yes.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. Liberals have no idea what it means to be a conservative. Well, duh.
Let's listen.
All right, maybe it'll make sense.
So it's come to my attention that liberals actually have no idea what it means to be a conservative, what values and morals we hold true, and they just have talking points that they've gotten off CNN. So tonight I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what a conservative is, what we hold dear, and what makes us so great. First and foremost, we believe in individual responsibility. Success is earned, not given. And in a country that wants handouts, we choose accountability. We want to teach our children to work hard, speak truth, and stand tall, even if it's uncomfortable. We also believe in limited government. Washington doesn't know better than our families, our churches, and our communities. Bureaucrats are not supposed to raise our children. We are. They're not supposed to teach them values. That's our job. Because when government gets too big, our freedoms get too small. On that same note, we believe in faith, family, and freedom, and not just as slogans, but genuinely as pillars that hold this country up. We honor God, we protect life, and we recognize that the strength of this country starts in the home. Next, we support law and order, not chaos in the streets. And that's not because we worship authority, but it's because we respect peace. Because freedom without order becomes anarchy. And we are not a nation of anarchy. We're a nation of laws. Next, we believe in free market and fair opportunity. Everybody deserves a shot, but you are not entitled to reap the benefits of somebody else's effort. The government does not create prosperity. Hardworking Americans do. Our values are not outdated. They are timeless. They are not extreme. They are necessary. Because if we lose them, we lose the soul of our country. So to all my conservatives watching this, stop apologizing. Stop apologizing for tradition, morality, strong borders, strong families, and strong faith. Raise your voices with me, not in anger, but in resolve. Don't bend to the cultural trends, the online mobs, because we stand on something stronger, something eternal. Because when we hold the line and we defend our truth and we live our values boldly, not only do we preserve America, we restore her. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.
That's not going to convince anybody
Thoughts
on the left of conservative values.
I know.
It's just because she's a redhead. And don't get me wrong, I love redheads, but I got the perfect redhead right here.
Thank you.
Anyway, so, okay, I appreciate everything she said, and it just seems like a puff piece. And if you're apologizing for being a conservative, you know what? Reach
Stop
down
it.
and grab a hold and like get to the business of being a conservative.
I agree with Carol.
Carol says, we need to live well on one person's salary. Amen. Amen on that one. I don't have a good one right now. Anyways, someone needs to be home to raise the kids. I agree 100%, Carol. I think that that's exactly what
That
we
was
need.
a boom worthy.
It is boom worthy, but this thing, here we go. It's not playing well. I need tactile buttons, not any of these digital buttons. Digital crap. Anyways, let's see. That would be certainly one of the things that would fix a lot, is if we could get back to a one income household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did explain
She
it
did
very
explain it very well. She did an amazing job explaining it. I think it was great. But at the same time, I was hoping that there was going to be some kind of breakdown. Maybe my expectations were set too high based off of the headline that was there.
Right.
Ain't that crazy how they took that away from us? It is crazy, Sea Strike.
Mm-hmm.
Taken away from us being the one income household.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened because of the devaluation of the dollar. Yay, federal bank. Thanks, Woodrow Wilson. I'll pray for him too.
I know. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Would you read that, please?
All right. The founding fathers shared Christian principles. What?
Let's listen.
Say that isn't so. Oh my God, so many liberals' heads are going to explode.
I know.
Oh God.
If you know much of their story, their saga, they were friends during the American Revolution. They actually worked together in writing the Declaration of Independence. They worked together under George Washington's administration, and they had a falling out. It was really bad. John Adams is the president, then Jefferson's the president. They don't get along. They don't agree. Another founding father helps bring them back together. And so at the end of their life, they write several letters, a series of letters back and forth to each other. And those letters, it's kind of funny. They're basically just grumpy old men complaining about life to each other. But in this one letter, 1813, he's reflecting to Jefferson, and John Adams says, Remember all those decades ago when we were together, the revolution was just starting and we were young men and there were so many people and we had all these ideas and we were so diverse and so divided in so many areas, but we found common ground to work together. Well, I want to point out something he says in this letter that was the common ground they found to work together. He said, the general principles on which the fathers achieved independence were the general principles of Christianity. He says the common ground where we all united were the principles of Christianity.
Thoughts?
They were the principles. It is based firmly in Christianity. Of course, then again, science was based in the belief of a creator, and not only the belief of a creator, but the creator of the Bible. That's where so many of our principles have been derived. And just through reason, it makes sense. You know, I know a lot of people, it's not the 613 mitzvot anymore, and I understand that. But, the 613 mitzvot, if you read through them, they make a lot of sense. Like don't gossip, stuff like that. These are things that the founding fathers understood, and these are the things that they tried to minimize. But they also understood that people were going to be peoply regardless. Hence the principles. That's why I believe that this nation was created through the divine providence at the time. And it is our responsibility to protect that. But the only way we can protect that, and if we believe that this nation was made through that divine providence, then that means that we believe in some kind of divinity. Yeah, I know. So
say it isn't so.
I know, right? So what should we do? Well, we need to stick by our creator's side and know that he's bringing us through this, and that what we must do is to follow him as best we can and try to spread his word, and try to help others live better by following his commandments.
And love.
And love.
The two most important commandments. Love, 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 love.
There it is.
Ugh. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is the opposite of love. Are you ready?
Sure.
Let's listen.
All right. Oh God.
Zoran's literally attempting to do what conservatives say, we want to do, which is provide gender-affirming care to anyone who wants it for free, and we're going to ship people, we're going to fly people in and pay for their hotel rooms, and we're going to do all of the Fox News stuff. We're getting ideas from Fox News. I want to do that. Thank you. But most importantly is we collaborated with the Zoran Mamdani campaign on his trans rights platform. And what we explicitly wanted to do was use the power of New York City to provide free gender-affirming care, and I say free in case insurance companies decide to boot us off, free gender-affirming care, not just to people in New York City, but across the country. When Zoran first kind of approached DSA leadership about running, his pitch was, he said, I'm going to get socialists to vote for me and I'm going to get Muslims to vote for me. With Zoran, we're in basically the best possible position to seize state power that we can be in because, we're like this, right? DSA has regular meetings with him, let alone his team. His policy director is my friend. I've been working with his campaign manager for well over a year. I have friends who are in his staff. Trans rights, I always would say, we are the tip of the spear. I've looked at Zoran's policies and I'm like, yep, these were floating around group chats and message boards for like 5 years before they ended up in here. Zoran himself, who's about to become the mayor of the largest city in the United States, is facing the same attacks that undocumented immigrants just trying to get a job at Home Depot are facing right now. There's no reason at all that we can't use telehealth and mailing prescriptions to people across the country to undermine state bans. The Zoran campaign was always eager to work with us. We're like that. We wrote the platform with him. The team was so happy to work with us on this. And now he's going to be mayor.
Zoran kicked Cuomo's ass. It was like almost a flawless victory. And so I think that'll also bear out when you switch into governing from like the campaign session.
New York City could provide trans healthcare for every trans person in the country who, can't afford it. And it would be a blip on our radar. I'm sure there are people who voted for Zoran who are transphobic, right? I'm sure there are people who voted for Zoran who, don't have like the best opinions on other stuff. Muslims are now a voting bloc in New York City elections. That wasn't the case before. It was like non-educated whites, educated whites. I love election demographics. Latinos and Black voters. Now it's also Muslim voters.
People come through to DSA by way of Zoran. That's awesome. But then we can help them basically become more radicalized. So Zoran is his first step, and then all of a sudden you're doing all kinds of awesome organizing.
Thoughts?
Well, that was interesting. Of course, the socialism 2025 thing on the bottom should have told me everything I need to know. You know what? This is another reason why I think that congressional districts should only be 30,000 people large.
It's that Zoran dude. That's who they're praising.
Yeah, I know. Zohran. Yeah, I know. I didn't know. Now it sounds closer to Zorro now. I don't even know how to say the guy's name.
I know.
But this is, there's an ass for every seat, and it's just not every seat needs to be the size of a New York district.
Right.
Yeah, I disagree with the masks.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to say about that?
They're bragging about mutilating people.
Okay, and they're talking about providing medical care for elective surgeries. I have an issue with that, especially when there's people that have surgeries that are needed that aren't quite as elective as people would, as the insurance industry would like to think they are. Those are the things that need to be fixed before we start giving people free sex changes. I don't know that the people need to be paying for that, just like we don't need to be paying for sodas and chips and all of those unhealthy hot dogs. I think that there needs to be some more healthy, things taken care of first before we start worrying about these more self-actualization, virtue signaling kind of procedures. But, then again, what do I know? I'm not, one of those educated whites.
Oh, is that what it is?
I'm assuming, I don't know. I'm one of the uneducated ones.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the category I fall into.
Huh. You're pretty smart to me.
Well, apparently not.
You ready?
Yep.
Would you read that, please?
Certainly. Cheryl Atkinson says, I never thought I would see some of these types of changes in my lifetime. Welcome to the club.
Let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything this big in terms of the reforms that are happening and being discussed among the government agencies. I know they're not big enough for a lot of people. I know it's too much for some people who didn't want to see these kinds of changes. But any way you look at it, inside almost every major federal agency, there are these debates and discussions going on with people who are true believers somewhere in there in changing the broken systems that we've had, that I think most of the public would agree have been broken for decades. But we've kind of given up on the thought or the hope that there would be real reform. We just started to think we don't have any hope that something's going to change. It's not always going to be pretty, but just what we've seen so far, I never thought I would see some of these types of changes in my lifetime. we're suddenly talking about the removal of artificial food dyes, which have been linked to everything from cancer to ADHD and a whole lot of other chronic disorders that we're all suffering from. There's so many toxic exposures. The notion of fluoride coming out of the water, that's something that scientists, you may hear the opposite, but the good science has said for many years is something that is supported, that it should come out of the water for health and safety reasons. And there's a dispute going on between agencies right now about that, but it is coming out of the water, and some states are acting on their own in the meantime. There is the safety of food being reformulated to get rid of some of the ultra processed chemicals that we know for a fact test in animals and sometimes in people is very harmful, and yet have been ignored as our chronic health disease epidemics have exploded in this country. Suddenly those are being addressed. And I would say there's even been an influence of things that were untouchable topics on the news. Maybe the media still doesn't get behind Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s position on them, but they're being discussed. And they were in the realm of censorship. You couldn't even speak of these things because they were falsely called conspiracy theories. Now they're edging their way, I think because of public pressure, as well as the administration change, into the daily discussion on the news like I've never seen them. I used to say when people asked me 20 years ago, what are the most important news issues that you see in the future? And it always came back to health things. It went from the autism epidemic to more broadly, the chronic health disease epidemic happening in this country. I said that 15 years ago. That was almost never being addressed in any meaningful way where there would be action, but for the chance to treat us with expensive treatments was almost never addressed by our political figures. It was not an election issue, and the public was demanding it. So this is a big change that this is now all on the table.
Thoughts?
All right. So this is one of the things that we were kind of talking about earlier after the RFK thing. And that is we're actually having these discussions now. These things are actually changing. And I agree with her. I didn't think we'd see any of these kinds of changes in my lifetime, let alone to the amount with which we had. And these chemicals like the fluoride in the water, that's something that crosses both sides, Democrat and Republican. Yeah, fluoride, I believe it to be a poison too, 100%. Yes, it is. And so the fact that this is that threat that the deep state is so worried about with populism, because populism is something that both sides can agree on. And these are the bridges that need to be made, are the bridges that say, hey, nobody on either side likes all these chemicals in the food. Nobody likes all these chemicals in the water. Nobody likes these kinds of things. These are the things that need to change, because if we can't change them, then we're screwed.
Right.
We can't make anything better if we aren't able to get rid of the poisons that are in the well. We can't make anything better if we can't get rid of the poisons that are in the food supply. These are things that need to be fixed. And this is populism. We just have to get over the fact that the people on the other side of the aisle disagree with us on so many other things. But what's truly important are the things that we can agree upon. That's where we need to focus. And so we must focus on these things. Mike says mercury in shots, fluoride in the water. They are trying to kill you. Certainly seems like that, doesn't it? Okay. I don't know about a panel, but okay, Dark Sage, let's hear it. Have an interesting political question for this panel. Okay, shoot.
Listen up, family.
Let's listen up, fam. Let's see what they have to say. Thank you for joining us, Dark Sage. Appreciate that. No, just call any wealth you build before. Okay. Fluoride is the waste after Alcoa makes their aluminum wheels, etc. I've heard that on more than one occasion as well.
Yeah.
And then these poisons should never have been there.
Right.
I think we can all agree. Although I will say there was a great advertising campaign about how great fluoride is for us.
Right.
Makes our choppers better.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let's listen.
And then we'll wait for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Betrayal cuts deeper when it wears a mask called friendship. This is why in Psalms 55, 12, and 14, David said, "It is not the enemy who taunts me." I can bear that. "It is not my foes who so arrogantly insult me." I can bear that. "Instead, it was you, my equal, my companion, my close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together to the house of God." Everybody can get along when we all broke, but when one of us come up, will you still shout the same way you did when I came down? And sometimes God sends you a word before you in it, so he can prepare you for it once you get in it, so you can be better than you ever been when you come out of it. This passage in Psalms 55, 12, and 14 is a cry not just of anger, but of grief from misplaced trust. This is why so many of us can't get over the last 3 years. Misplaced trust. This is why some of us are ready to move on, and when we say out our mouth we're about to move on, something in our spirit pulls us back. It's because we never dealt, Michael, with misplaced trust. Misplaced trust is not always about them being evil. That's why some of us stuck. We are stuck because the person who hurt us, they're not evil. They're not devilish. They are not manipulative. The problem is sometimes it's not them being evil. Sometimes it's about you expecting covenant and a connection God never co-signed.
Thoughts?
All right. So, it's kind of one of those things in life. We put our trust in things that we shouldn't be putting our trust in. And that makes it so that way we have unnecessary challenges. Uh, Putting our trust in people will end up having us, see failure every time. It's nice that there are people that look like they care, but we shouldn't put our faith in mankind, in any one human being. We have our faith in our Creator. That's the best we got. We can't be let down that way, right?
Because he's the same he was yesterday, and that he'll be
Yesterday,
tomorrow,
today, and tomorrow. 100%. I agree. And so it's make sure you're putting your trust in the place where it actually belongs, and that's in our Creator. And we understand that humans are going to do human things. They're going to make mistakes. I'm human. I make mistakes all the time. I've made, I don't know how many mistakes on this show today, but I know it happens. And so we take this thought process with us that not only are, we fallible, but other people are fallible as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, we need to refocus our faith in what's going on in our life. Mike says, if Hillary had won, we'd still be in lockdown. Oh, well, yeah, FEMA camps, whatever. Okay, Dark Sage says, a movie is being made about President Dwight Eisenhower from his time as Supreme Allied Commander and Planning Director day to when he was president. He is one of the few presidents in history you never hear you hardly hear anything bad being said. My worry is that he'll be portrayed in a negative light because he is a, quote, white man. And on the political left, white men are toxic and evil, end quote. I look up Dwight and he is my hero in life.
There's more.
Dark Sage continues, I am curious how the media or any filmmakers would portray him and what you feel they ought to do. Because I know people on the left who admire him greatly. Great multi-part question. I can't say anything to Hollywood because they don't listen.
Right.
They trash people's character. It's common for them to do it. Look at what they did to Margaret Thatcher. Look at what how they've tried to portray Ronald Reagan. Those were people that I thought did great things in one of the most challenging times, fighting what we felt was the greatest threat to our security as a nation through the philosophy of socialism. President Eisenhower, he spoke up against the military-industrial complex. And he warned America about that. these we can't say how people's legacy is portrayed in the future. But I do have a feeling that as time goes on, people will make sure that the truth comes out as best as they can.
People are starting to look things up for themselves.
People are, I will agree with you on that one, that people do look up things for themselves. And I think that because President Eisenhower is on your heart as much as he is, you should be that person who tries to help people see the truth that wasn't being told. I think Eisenhower did a lot of great things. He certainly guided us through World War II. I would say that because Hollywood is being split up right now, who was it? The Texas actor. There's a couple of actors from Texas that.
Which one? Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. I want to say Cheers.
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, and I think somebody else out of Texas. They're starting something in Texas. I think that
Mark Wahlberg started one here.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg is starting one here in Las Vegas. I know that there's other studios being built throughout the South. So Hollywood is getting broken up. And so I believe that it's going to take the stranglehold off that Hollywood held over so many narratives and stories about individuals and the way things really went down in the past. I think that it gives the truth a much better chance than it had before, because it's not consolidated into one small town, or, well, giant town anymore. Actually, for perspective's sake, the county of Los Angeles has more people in it today than the entire nation had when the Declaration, or actually the Constitution, was signed in 1790 in the first census. So let that one sink in about how different things are today versus when this nation was created. So the only thing that we can be sure of is that everything's going to continue to change. And as this pendulum swings from a far one-sided narrative, it's going to swing back. And hopefully, if we're doing the right thing, we can keep it in the middle, the conversation in the middle, and not let the far extremes dictate the conversation. We need more logical conversations to move forward, so that way we can actually make this nation move forward the best way that we can, through honesty and open dialogue, without everybody taking offense to the first thing and talking over people. I hope that answered your question in terms of my perspective on that, and thank you for that.
Amen.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, certainly.
Let's listen.
A wise man once said, "Discipline is doing what you hate to do, but doing it like you love it." Motivation comes and goes, but discipline, that's the voice in your head that whispers, even when you're tired, sore, or uninspired, urging you to push through. Discipline doesn't care if you're ready. It demands you show up every single day, no excuses. The Stoics believed that true strength lies in consistent action, not fleeting feelings. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. That's where real growth happens. Every time you conquer that inner resistance, you're forging yourself into something stronger. The more you commit, the more you start to love the process. And soon, what once seemed unbearable becomes your path to greatness. Discipline is power. Master it, and the world will bend to your will. Don't wait for motivation. Create it.
All right, Kay, you picked this one. You're going camera silent today, huh?
I am.
All right.
So the reason why I picked this one is because, like I said earlier, Santino and I have been together for 26 years, been married for 24 years. And I can tell you the discipline this man has is beyond pale. I saw him get up at 3:30 in the morning and put on his PT clothes and go work out and then come home, take a shower, have breakfast, work 16, 18-hour days. And because of love of country. And it had nothing to do with motivation. It had nothing to do with anything but his discipline and his love for this country. And so duty and honor. And it gave me discipline. And when you get that kind of discipline, I mean, when I was in 6th grade, I started playing basketball, and I played basketball until I was done with college. And then I just stopped running. And when I met Santino, one of the things that I realized is I wanted to get into really good shape. And I started going to the gym twice a day. And my thing is I would go for 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, if I still didn't want to be there, I was allowed to go home, no questions asked. And in the time that I did that, I only went home maybe once or twice. Because here's the thing, it's a discipline. It's about being in the moment. And you know what? When you have that kind of discipline, your body starts craving to work out. And it's like anything else. You can get something done in 28 days. It only takes 28 days to change your mindset. So it's not always about motivation. Sometimes it's about discipline. So remember that, family, and know that you guys are such an amazing, amazing family. And we come on here and we do this because you guys give us that discipline to keep going. Seasoning, Santino?
All right.
Hey, Brother Bill.
Hey, Brother Bill. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate you. Just as we're closing up for the night. All right. So discipline, and I appreciate all those kinds words. Thank you very much. You're too kind to me, more than I deserve. Let's see. So, we got to do the things we don't want to do, and that's where the growth occurs. It's kind of like the obstacle is the way. Again, more Stoic philosophy. But these things that we don't want to do are the very things that we should be doing, and so we drive forward because we know that they make things better. We know that they improve not only our life but the lives of those around us. So we need to make sure that we are applying ourselves to the things that we don't necessarily want to do, especially when we know that those things are the things that are going to create a better world around us. It may not create a better world for us individually, but if it can create a better world around us, then in the end, we get a better world for us. And so make sure that you are applying that discipline, and that discipline is for yourself too. Do the things that you know that you should be doing. If you know you need to be making a meal plan and counting your calories and all these other things, which includes an exercise regimen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, go do that and then hold yourself to it. That is the discipline that we need to make ourselves become the person that we want to be. How bad do you really want to have that change in your life? Well, if it doesn't require that you do anything for it, then why should you care about it? And if it's on your heart to care about it to begin with, then maybe deep down inside, you know that you should be applying that discipline. So
Amen.
Go do the things that you know you should be doing. And I need to listen to that as well. So anyways, yeah. Thank you all so much. And we do appreciate each and every one of you joining us tonight. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, at Locals, and Pill.net.
And if you haven't already, please take a minute and give us that virtual hug. If you're over on Rumble or YouTube, hit that thumbs up. If you're over on Pill.net, take that red pill. And if you're on Facebook, you got like 7 choices. So run over there and clickety-click away.
Clickety-click, everybody. All right. Well, we do truly appreciate each and every one of you, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We love you all. Have a great night. Be safe, and God bless each and every one of you.